Welcome to Quick Report News. Hey, have you ever seen someone get so frustrated at their job that they just completely lose it? I'm not talking about just a bad day, but a full-on public meltdown. Well, we're about to dive into a moment just like that, one that happened on one of the biggest stages in pro sports. We're talking about a head coach, a game with massive stakes, and a press conference that's going to go down in history for its raw, unfiltered anger. So our story really kicks off after the game was already over. This press conference went viral, and trust me, it wasn't for the usual reasons. There were no celebrations, no calm analysis of a tough loss. No, this was something else. This was just pure, unfiltered rage from a head coach who had just watched his team completely implode in the most spectacular way, right when victory seemed like a sure thing. And this is what he said. The head coach for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Todd Bowles, held nothing back. In this tirade, he dropped 7 F-bombs and called his team's performance just flat out inexcusable. He wasn't even talking about strategy or X's and O's anymore. He was questioning their heart, their passion. He basically told them this is more than just a game. It's how they make a living, and that they needed to take a hard look in the mirror and ask themselves if they even cared enough. I mean, what a stunning thing to say about your own team in public. So you gotta ask, right? What on earth could possibly happen to make a coach get this angry? For a coach to call out his player's character on live TV, that's a huge deal. So to really get why he was so furious, we have to understand the collapse that caused it. Let's rewind the clock a few hours, back to a point in the game where everything, and I mean everything, was going perfectly for the Bucs. Okay, so you gotta understand, this wasn't just some regular Sunday game. This was a Thursday night football showdown. The lights are brighter, way more people are watching across the country, and the pressure is just cranked way, way up. And on top of all that, it was against their bitter rivals, the Atlanta Falcons, with the top spot in their division on the line. Seriously, the stakes could not have been higher. The game was in Tampa, so the Bucs were at home, and the crowd's energy was just electric. As they got into the last 15 minutes of the game, they were in total control. They had the lead, they had all the momentum, the path to a huge win seemed totally clear. For the players, the coaches, and probably every single person in that stadium, this game was pretty much over. They were up by 14 points. Now, if you don't follow football that closely, let me put this in perspective. A 14-point lead in the fourth quarter is about as close to a guaranteed win as you can get. It's a 2-score game. Statistically, the chance of a team winning from that position is insane, often well over 95%. You are supposed to win, period. But, as they say, supposed to are 2 of the most dangerous words in sports. Okay, so let's get right into the disaster. What happened next is the whole reason for that insane press conference. This wasn't just a slow slide downhill. It was a complete free fall. In just a little over 13 minutes of game time, the Buccaneers didn't just lose the lead. They had a complete and total meltdown that left everyone, the players, the fans, and especially their coach, in a state of absolute shock. So check this out. This is basically the anatomy of a complete choke. With about 13 and a half minutes left, the Bucs score. It's 28-14. The stadium is going nuts. It feels like the final nail in the coffin. But the Falcons don't give up. Less than 4 minutes later, they score. The lead gets cut down to 28-20. Okay, that's the first crack. Then, the real turning point. With around 8 minutes left, the Bucs quarterback, Baker Mayfield, makes a huge mistake. He throws an interception, giving the ball right back to Atlanta. That one play completely flipped the momentum. Suddenly, the Falcons have life, and you can just feel the Bucs starting to get tight. So, of course, Atlanta takes advantage, marches down the field, and scores again. And just like that, it's a 2-point game, 28-26. The panic is real now for Tampa Bay. They get the ball back with a chance to run out the clock, but their offense just stalls out. They have to punt, giving Atlanta one last shot. The Falcons, cool as can be, drive down the field, get just close enough, and as the clock hits 0, their kicker nails a 43-yard field goal. Game over. Falcons win 29-28, an absolute total collapse. So after a historic collapse like that one, everybody immediately starts looking for answers, right? Who's to blame? Was it one player's mistake? A bad call by a coach? Or was it just a total team failure? For a pro team, this isn't just about pointing fingers. It's a really painful but necessary process. So let's look at what the key people said and what the hard numbers tell us. And right here, you see 2 totally different ways of handling it. You've got Coach Bowles, who's looking at the big picture. For him, this was a failure by everyone, a failure of execution, and maybe more importantly, a failure of will. His anger was for the entire team. But then you have his quarterback, Baker Mayfield, taking the personal view. As the leader on the field, he put the loss squarely on himself, pointing right at that costly interception.
He even said it was going to haunt him. So you have one guy demanding accountability from everybody, and the other guy taking it all on himself.
And the stats, man, they really paint the picture of how Atlanta just ripped this win away. Their quarterback, Kirk Cousins, was nearly perfect. I mean, 373 yards and 3 touchdowns is a great day. But the most important number there is that 0 next to interceptions. He played a clean game when it mattered most. His tight end, Kyle Pitts, was just unstoppable. He caught all 3 of those touchdowns. A 3-touchdown game for anyone is wild. For a tight end, that's legendary. And their rookie running back, Bijan Robinson, was a complete nightmare for the Bucs defense, getting 175 total yards. Now look at Baker Mayfield's stats. 277 yards and 2 touchdowns. That doesn't look bad on paper. But in football, it's all about context. That one interception, that single mistake, that was the opening the Falcons needed. It completely overshadowed everything else he did, and really, it's what cost his team the game.
And look, this wasn't just some random, embarrassing loss that they'd forget about by next week. No, this had huge, immediate consequences for the Buccaneers' entire season. The fallout from those last 13 minutes sent shockwaves through the whole organization. Let's zoom out and look at the bigger picture to really understand why this one game mattered so much.
And here it is, the most direct consequence. With that last-second field goal, the Buccaneers fell from the top spot in their division, the NFC South. Just like that. They went from controlling their own destiny, win your games and you're in the playoffs, to suddenly having to look up at their rivals in the standings and hope other teams lose just to give them a shot. So yeah, this one game put everything they were working for in jeopardy. Their record dropped to 7-7, which is the very definition of mediocre, especially late in the season. They slipped into second place, which meant they no longer had the inside track to a home playoff game. Their path to even making the playoffs got way harder. And maybe the biggest thing, their historic goal of winning a record-setting 5th straight division title, which is a huge mark of excellence, was suddenly in very real danger of not happening. Which brings us all the way back to where we started, Coach Todd Bowles and that fiery press conference. So, after seeing the high stakes, the commanding 14-point lead, and the shocking way it all collapsed in just 13 minutes, was his anger justified? Or did he go too far by calling his team out like that in public? Let us know what you think down in the comments. We'd love to hear your take on it. And hey, if you found this breakdown interesting, do us a favor and hit that like button, share it with your friends, and make sure you subscribe to Quick Report News for more deep dives into the stories you need to know about. Thanks for watching.